What is skip tracing in real estate? All right, guys, let's deep dive into this. What is skip tracing in real estate and why you should know something about it? Well, skip tracing in real estate, let's just talk about skip tracing to start off here. What is skip tracing? Skip tracing is the art and technology of finding the name, the phone number, the email address, and the landline number for an individual. Okay, so back in the day, if you hired a private investigator, that private investigator would have access to some publicly available information that is actually hard to get. And so what they would do is they would run reports. They would find information on your passport. They would find of the person they were trying to find, their passport, their driver's license, any utility bills, anything that had information that was publicly available, or that when you signed up for it, you agreed they can sell your information. So lots of times in the fine print in your credit card agreement, it says, yeah, we can give your information away or sell your information to somebody else. You got to be careful with these things. And even though they say we don't sell your information, they may give your information for certain situations, and that's what skip tracing does. But back in the day, you had to hire a private investigator, and this private investigator would go into all these different types of database to try and find information for the person they were searching for. Well, fast forward decades, and now all of a sudden you've got it available at your fingertips. And so basically what skip trace is if I know the property address, I can then do a trace, and I can find the phone number, the cell phone number, the landline, and the email address for that individual that actually owns that property. Now, skip trace is only as good as the service you actually use, and not every service is going to be accurate. It's just impossible to be 100% accurate. But what it will do is give you the last known phone number, email address, and landline for the person that they can possibly find. It doesn't mean that is still that person's phone number. So lots of times you'll be get a skip trace number, and occasionally there won't be a hit, like 20% of the time, probably more like 10 or 15% of the time. You'll do the skip trace and nothing will happen. And good reputable companies will say, if we can't produce you phone numbers, we're not going to charge you. However, if you do get phone numbers, you will get charged, and those phone numbers may not be the person. They're giving you the last available data for that person they can possibly find. But here's the key: skip traces are really inexpensive. You're talking like 15 cents. I think it's 12 cents right now with us. Don't quote me on that, but they're really inexpensive for you to get phone numbers that are as good as possible for you to make contact. Now, how does all of this relate to real estate? Well, one of the things I really like people to do is what's called driving for dollars. And driving for dollars is the art of driving around, finding properties that look like they're in not so great of condition. And the idea is if you can find something that you don't think is going to be able to go FHA or get an FHA loan to an end buyer, that property is either going to have to, one, be fixed up by the owner. They're going to have to spend and put more money into the property, which they may or may not be able to do, or may or may not want to do, because it's time, it's a headache, it's dealing with contractors. The list goes on, and they may not want to do it, and two, they may not have the money to do that. So what you're doing is you're saying, hey, this is somebody that the property looks like it needs some work. So I'm going to call them and ask them if they have interest in selling. So you've got to get a lot of these names, but if you call a lot of places, you'll end up working with people that may have some interest in selling their property. And since you know the property's in need of work, it's a great deal for an investor to be working on. And that's the whole art. But this all comes down to actually doing skip traces. And the reason that's important is if you identify a property you'd be interested in, you can hit the skip trace button. That can find the phone number, the email address, and the landline, the most recent that's there. Now, what if you call somebody that isn't the person? So typically what I like to do is call and say, hey, I'm looking for the owner of 123 Main Street. And they'll be like, that's not me. I'll say, oh, well, I'm a real estate investor. I buy properties in the area. Do you by chance have a property you'd be interested in selling, or know anyone else who does? And sometimes they'll just hang up, or they may just say no. And that's probably the most common thing. And then you just make another phone call and keep going until you've called through the entire list of places. And as you get less of a list, you go drive more, you add those to the list, and you keep calling. But this whole idea of skip tracing is getting the phone, the email, and hopefully the email address, the landline, the cell phone, and the email address, is what you're looking for when we're dealing with a skip tracing. And the reason it's important for real estate investors is identifying somebody. Now, this just doesn't have to be real estate. This could be a piece of land. This could be a commercial property, although it's a little harder to skip trace on commercial because they're typically in the name of an LLC. But you can do some research on LLCs online and try and get phone numbers from your division of commerce where they have actually licensed for, to try and get that information as well. So there's multiple ways to try and get this information, but skip tracing is a great way to do it. I highly recommend it. It's very cost effective and it's a great way to find properties, especially if you're accompanying that with driving for dollars. Hey guys, if you've enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, consider subscribing, and if you subscribe and want to attend our live cast each Tuesday, I do a live cast at 6 p.m. Eastern. I give away a shirt just like this, and you could be our shirt winner of the week. Log on, check us out Tuesdays 6 p.m. And we can see if you can become a winner of the week. We give one away every single week. Also, if you'd like my motivated seller's call script, which is kind of what we talked about earlier, as what you do when you call on these skip traces, I'll give you a copy of it for free. All you've got to do is text me at 435-294-0433. Text me your email address, and I'll send you that motivated seller script. I also have another video on how do you skip trace. It's the logistics of actually how to do a skip trace. You're going to want to check that one out. There's also a blog post, 8 most efficient ways and effective ways to contact the owner of a vacant house. Check that out. I'll link it in the notes below. Otherwise, make it a very profitable day, and bye for now.